experts agree unless it is quickly controlled, it could lead to a severe pandemic, an outbreak that circles the globe and affects people everywhere.
The mission of the Pandemic Emergency Board is to provide recommendations to deal with the major global challenges arising in response to an unfolding pandemic. The board is comprised of highly experienced leaders from business, public health, and civil society.
We could be looking at double the number of cases in 1 week and 16 times as many in a month if we are not able to stop the spread. That would be on the order of 500,000 cases, and it would continue to rise exponentially.
I feel like on some level, there's got to be some things that we can actually agree on. That we can all agree that shit's fucked up right now, right? Cool. So if you feel me, make some noise. If you don't, go in the back and get a drink. Let's go.
More effectively, his players get fucked. The city can't afford to house his home team, Brooklyn gets fucked. And I'm sitting there looking star in his face, and he's acting like the life of that company is gonna be worse off than some of these players that's about to go back to. Man, I'm just saying, man.
You care all the way, you don't care at all, man. You get ready to preach?
And they snatch him out of the womb, like
preaching.
You catch your boys there, you know, they hungry to get him out there. Ain't even really finished high school yet, but they won't explain 37% tax.
Won't explain agency fees. Look, there's a reason why the NBA started integrating. As the Harlem Globetrotters exhibition started going international, control. They wanted the control of a game that we played better. They invented a game on top of a game. Question is, what you gonna do? Yeah, they out.
I'm not out.
We shouldn't underestimate the power of entrepreneurship. We need to escalate that, whether it's through the government's helping with tax breaks or subsidies of that nature to increase manufacturing of those types of products. It can happen quickly. A Marshall type plan that don't mean to say that exactly, but a Marshall plan that can go into effect can stimulate.
They were there long before crack cocaine was there, but crack cocaine became the scapegoat.
That's a fascinating scapegoat, because I bought into it hook, line, and sinker. I really thought that there was a difference between the 1980s and the 1990s as far as like when crack was introduced, boom, it took off. It was sort of something that was just always discussed as like common fact.
Yeah, no, I bought into it too, and that's what drove me to pursue my education in the way I did. But as a result of pursuing that education, I discovered that it was not true.
So are these cultural myths the result of political campaigns where they're trying to clean up the streets and they attribute it to certain issues, or is it something more widespread? Is it the media just running with a narrative? What is it? How did it get started?
Well, there are multiple sort of factors and players involved. So when we think about the politicians, for example, if crack cocaine is the problem, never mind the fact that unemployment rate was out of control before crack cocaine hit the market. Unemployment was out of control. A number of things were already problematic. Now you have crack cocaine. If you blame crack cocaine, it's really easy to simply say, we'll put more law enforcement, we'll hire more cops, we'll put more efforts in controlling these drugs. A lot easier to say, we'll lock people up for selling these drugs, for using
65 million people died in the first 18 months. The outbreak was small at first and initially seemed controllable, but then it started spreading in densely crowded and impoverished neighborhoods of megacities. From that point on, the spread of the disease was explosive. Within 6 months, cases were occurring in nearly every country. The global economy was in a free fall. The GDP down 11%. Stock markets around the world plummeted between 20 and 40% and headed into a downward cycle of fear and low expectation. Businesses were not borrowing, banks were not lending. Everyone was just hoping to hunker down and weather the storm. Economists say the economic turmoil caused by such a pandemic will last for years, perhaps a decade. The societal impacts, the loss of faith in government, the distrust of news, and the breakdown of social cohesion could last even longer. We have to ask, did this need to be so bad? Are there things we could have done in the 5 to 10 years leading up to the pandemic that would have lessened the catastrophic consequences? We believe the answer is yes.
This is poison. So I know really up on the herb, shadow them up right now. So everybody, we was agitating for ganja to be legalized, not decriminalized. Because if it decriminalized, all Rasta is going to get it. Excuse me while I light my spliff, because I'm the one to get it. And the big man, he might go get the shipment, he might go get the medical, he might go get the this, he might go have his scientific all this, and I don't do those things. Herb is just another vegetable to I. I don't see it supreme to no other herbs. Just another herb.
A real difficult time being serious the entire year, and we have to work on that. I want to look at some questions. I want to ask this group, how do you act white? See, there's a rumor going around Cincinnati. There's a rumor going around that when black youth are doing a good job in school, they get teased. When the brothers are doing a good job in school, they're called a chump or a nerd or a fag. And I've even heard in some cases that when black youth are doing a good job in school, you're acting white. Now that's deep. If being smart is acting white, what does being black mean? I now want to first of all ask this group, how do you act white? And then we'll go into how do you act black? How do you act white?
In my experience, a lot of people that I've talked to say that, I may act white or whatever because of the way that I speak, because I don't use a lot of slang a lot of times unless I'm just joking around. And when I want to get something done or be assertive or serious, I speak, proper English. Or it might be the way that you act or the way that you carry yourself.
So when you speak proper English, they say you're acting white? Yeah. Okay, and what else are you saying? You're saying when you act a certain kind of way? How do you act a certain way that causes people to call you acting white?
If you're not using slang or walking a certain way or doing certain things that the stereotypical black person would do, then you're acting white.
Okay, and remember, if we know what acting white is, we have to also know what acting black is. How do you act black? If acting white is speaking proper English and walking a certain kind of way, how do you act black? Does anyone know how to act black? Okay, anything else? Have you heard that comment that to be smart is to act white? Okay, so when you act black, what does that mean? I mean, if acting smart is acting white, then how does that relate to grades for acting black? Is that right?
I guess, yeah. That's what it's saying. If you're smart, you must be white. If you're black, then you must be dumb. Because white people say we don't know anything anyway.
Okay. And what is a nerd? Does anybody know what a nerd is? I understand that